Three, two, one. Heavy with Scoop B here in the building with the one and only Stephon Marbury. What are you doing, sir? What
I'm
are you doing?
tapping balls right now, letting them know what it is. This is what it is.
So
What's
what is
up?
it? What is it?
This is the next generation. These are the basketballs that are changing the game.
Mm-hmm.
How we look at the basketballs when we see the basketballs on our phones,
Mm-hmm.
being that technology is the new wave of the future.
It
This
is.
is the wave of the future. We got copycats. So this basketball you can play with in a real basketball game, opposed of utilizing the balls that have been out the past 3 years. This ball we changed it up and we made it so that it won't slip. So that's what this is.
Tell me something. Um, the NBA, they can't decide whether or not they want to play, they want to boycott, or what. China, where you are, decided to cancel the league, if I'm not mistaken. From your perspective, what are the biggest differences in what China has done and what the NBA has done?
I mean, I think because China is a little bit further than um, America and what has happened with the virus, they have a better understanding on how to not fast forward, but create a prelude and allow people to actually understand what's happening with the virus and what they're supposed to do. Um, a lot of people are talking about where this virus has come from, but nobody can really specifically speak about the origin of where the virus has come from. Viruses come about all over the earth, and I think um, with China doing what it is that they're doing and trying to make sure that everyone is safe and making sure that the world is safe, I think that um, they're doing the job of getting people to understand that in order to prolong the life and to keep things going, they're putting people in position for them to understand that this virus is here and it's not going anywhere. So wearing a mask, understanding what it is that you need to understand about the virus and what it can do, and educating people. All of these different things are being put forth so that people can have this understanding about what they need to do so that they won't spread the virus, because the virus is here, it's not going anywhere.
Mhm.
And I think with the NBA, it's kind of it's a hard thing to govern because of what's happening in America, where you have some states closing down, some states not closing down. So all of these different variables as far as trying to educate people so that they can understand and how to actually get control of the virus is a little complicated. Whereas in China, because of the way how things are governed here, um, people are inclined to listen to the government about what they need to do to make sure that they prolong life. And I think with the NBA, it's it's pretty tough because they had to go on a bubble like we had to go on a bubble. But at the same time, going into the bubble and coming out of the bubble is hard because when guys go into the bubble, some guys go out because they have certain things that they have to handle. Whereas here in China, there's no going out of the bubble.
Mhm.
So guys in the NBA, they get to go out and then they get to come back in. In China, you can't go out. So I think, when you look at the whole synopsis of what's actually happening with basketball in China and the NBA, it's hard to compare. But at the same time, guys are trying to figure out how to make it work and them playing basketball and them being able to live their lives.
Right.
It's good that they get to bring their families inside, but at the same time, you know, China in China, you don't get to bring your family here. It's basically just hoop. So I think, with all that's going on because of the government system, it's a little difficult and it's a lot challenging for the NBA players, whereas the Chinese players is cut off.
You are in China. I'm in America, but you're a retired NBA player. You know what's going on. Over the last 24 hours, we've seen players decide they want to boycott. We've seen Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Bucks, and the Bucks at large, protesting what went on with Jacob Blake and more. He was a black man. I'm sure you understand. Do you think that people are confusing why players are boycotting or why players are deciding they want to play from your perspective?
I mean, it's really simple as far as why guys are standing up. I think when you see guys doing what it is that they're doing right now and standing up in solidarity within the system of playing in the NBA, it's it's rewarding to actually see everyone doing the same thing at the same time, because it's not often that we get the chance to see things happening not only in succession, but it's like the Bucks took a stand and then all of the other teams took a stand. It's not about basketball, it's bigger than basketball. And I've been saying it's bigger than basketball for so many years, for so long, whereas you see these companies who these guys are getting paid millions and millions of dollars from, but now we're getting the opportunity to see that that doesn't mean anything. It's not about the NBA, and I think the NBA has recognized that you know these guys are black and they represent our league. And not only do they represent our league, they're putting putting on for us to be able to capitalize off of what viewership is able to see. And because viewership is able to see something, they monopolize off of what it is that they're able to see in the content that's being produced.
Mhm.
So now that these guys that go out and they perform and they do something to create intangible dollars that will allow people to make money off of and also create access off of their play. Now these guys are saying we're not going to allow you to see that, which is
Mhm.
viewership. So now this viewership is now in jeopardy. But at the same time, the NBA also knows that these guys are the people who are dealing with a struggle or dealing with a challenge of what's happening in our society where black men are being shot in their backs because of whatever happens. The guilty people don't deserve to be killed either. Just because they're guilty, that doesn't mean that they should be shot and killed,
Yeah.
just as innocent people, right? So now we're dealing with something where these guys know that this can very well be them because a cop may not recognize that that's LeBron James or that's not Donovan Mitchell or Damian Lillard or Kawhi Leonard. They may not know who these guys are when they're
Right.
driving in a $300,000 car or a $30,000 car because Kawhi Leonard, he drives in different cars as well.
Right. He's a low budget dude when it comes to the whips.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So you may not know who he is. He could just be a regular dude with cornrows in his head that's driving in LA, or um, I would use San Antonio because he was there as well. He could be
Right.
there just driving around and just chilling, going to the grocery store. So it could be that as well.
You made mention of LeBron James. You and I have been going back and forth through text and wrote a couple things. You were in that living room with a basketball, saying different things. Before we get started, I'm curious to know from your perspective. It's a two-part question. Number one, was Kyrie Irving villainized? And in your opinion, is he right?
I mean, Kyrie Irving is a G. He's a real one. He's a guy that not only can get on the basketball court and perform, but off the court, he has his opinion, and as a human being, he has a feeling which is in tune with what is actually happening with other human beings. So when he speaks and he says something, he doesn't just speak and say things just, because he's talking. He's speaking and talking because he can feel the vibration of what's actually happening, what's going on the universe,
Right.
and what's happening with our people. So not everyone is connected to this vibration, which, I feel is um, imperative for us to have an understanding about why we say what we say and we feel what we feel about what's happening to our people when we see what's happening. It's not like this has just started. This has been going on for a long period of time. So when we speak and talk about what's happening with us, and we say why we're saying what we're saying about what's going on in the current situation of how people are treating us, when he says this and he speaks about this and he talks about this not being about basketball, I think, not everyone is inclined to understand what it is that he's speaking and talking about. And that goes for the NBA players as well, because not everyone in the NBA is conscious. And I say that again, not everyone in the NBA is conscious.
I know
Not
what you
everyone is understanding.
We seem to have a bit of a technical difficulty. Stefan will be back in a minute. Scoop B with Heavy or Heavy with Scoop B on the line. Steph is
Hello?
back in now. Hey, can you hear us, brother?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, man. You said not everybody is conscious. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm
Steph?
here.
Okay. So you said not everybody is conscious. And you have made mention of LeBron James in the past. You last week talked about his hair. You said Damian Lillard was the best player in the NBA. Um, that was a slight at LeBron, I think. Was it?
It was a little joke. That's all. I don't have any hair on my head. I get snapped on about me being an egghead, about me, you know, not being able to grow hair. It's a joke. It wasn't really what people were trying to make it out to be. I think um, people have their way of how they express themselves and talking about what it is that I said, or how I said it in a dramatic form. But I think LeBron James is a great player. He's a great advocate for um, speaking out when there are times when he should speak out. I think he does that. I do think that it can be more, it can be done in a different way where it could transition in a way where it's prophylactic towards giving people a real understanding about what's actually happening. I think from me being around LeBron James, from playing with him in the Olympics, I have different opinions. And I think from the foundation of who he is, I think that, you know, he's grown in a lot of ways. And um, I think what he's trying to do is good. He's trying to stand up for black people. But I also think that um, it's okay to make a joke, and it's not any malice intended towards speaking about him and saying anything bad about him as far as him per se as a person. I
Right.
think me talking about his hairline and about, why would you put a hairpiece on and why would you put a rug on?
Right.
I think that anybody could speak and talk about that. This wasn't something that's this isn't something that's new. This is something that has gone on and something that has been spoken about and talked about before I said something about that. I found out about that late. As I said, somebody that I know in China was talking about, dude wearing a rug on his head, and I said something. I said, "Nah, you serious? That can't be true." And he was like, "I'm telling you, it's real. Go look at it on the internet, and you can see, you know, uh, Anthony, what's his name?
Anthony Davis.
Anthony Davis talking
I
like,
was at that
yo,
game. I was at
your
that.
rug." You
Yes.
know what I'm saying? Like, yo, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, nah, nah, nah. He was like, nah, for real. I'm telling you, for real. So, not to exaggerate things, but I thought it was pretty funny that the proclaimed best player to ever play basketball was walking around with a rug on his head.
Hmm.
I mean, once you lose it, you lose it. It is what it is. But it doesn't stop, people from thinking about him being what he is. I think Michael Jordan is the best basketball player to ever play. I think Kobe Bryant is the second basketball player to be the best. I mean, that's just my opinion. That's all it really is. I mean, I think LeBron James is a great basketball player. I don't question that at all. But at the same time, I think me voicing my opinion and saying how I feel, I think that pretty much, you know, it bothers some people. I don't know why when people feel a certain way about how I am and who I am as a basketball player, but that's it is what it is.
A wise man once told me, if you talk about me once, I'm gonna talk about you forever. So for those who are paying attention, um, you came on the Scoopy Radio podcast and you said that Michael is the best. He should be compared. Kobe is second. LeBron is there, but he's not at the top. And for some people who didn't watch Michael, Kobe is their Michael. This is my question. Years ago, LeBron was asked about sneakers. And at the time, you were doing the Starbury sneakers and selling them at Steve and Barry. It was for 1999, correct?
It was for 1498.
I apologize, 1498. And he made some comments about Nike and how, he and Nike put out a good product and he'll never sell shoes for that price. Um, is it a fair assessment to ask you that maybe the reason why you make commentary about LeBron the way you do is because you felt slighted or he made that swipe about your shoes?
There are a variety of different things, but I'll speak on this because the other things are a little bit deeper.
Okay.
I think this is more surface. Um, when we played against the Cavs, they asked LeBron James when he came to the Garden, "Would you ever wear a 1498 sneaker?" And LeBron said, "Oh, at Nike, we hold our standards high. I'll
Mm.
never wear a 1498 sneaker." So they came to me and they asked me, "Well, we just now asked LeBron James, will he ever wear a 1498 sneaker?" Um, and at Nike, they hold their standards high. And I said, "Well, I'd rather own than be owned." That was my comment. And that's all I said. And I thought, here's a kid that comes from the ghetto, that comes from a place where um, there are black kids that are like him, that are just like him and I. And here's a guy that has been transformed, by people that don't look like us and been told what to say and what to speak on, because obviously there were talking points that were given to him. It wasn't him that I felt was actually speaking and talking about what it was and what it was that I was trying to do and help people that look like him and look like myself. I thought that at the time when he said what he said, I thought that he was being coached.
Mm.
And I felt like, for you to say what it is that you're saying during a time where I'm creating access for all, meaning not only black people, but for white people as well. Here I am, I'm creating access for our people to be able to have something at an affordable price, at an affordable price, where people would be able to buy something, not only sneakers. See, that's what people get it confused at. It wasn't just sneakers, it was clothes, it was bags, it was headbands, whatever it is that it was that you utilize to play sports, creating different outlets for other athletes to come along. And I just felt like during that time when he said that and he spoke on that, um, not only was it insensitive, but it was like he did what they told him to say
Mm.
against someone who was trying to do something for somebody that looked like him. And for me, that was a no-no. That was a real no. That was a real no-no. And he has yet to speak on it and talk about it and why. I mean, I've moved past it, but now it's just kind of like I could crack when I want to crack. I could joke when I want to joke. Nobody can do nothing about it. So mote it be, but at the same time, it's kind of like for me, it's all right. It's past, but it is what it is. He's a Nike advocate.
You guys never spoke about it by phone on the court when you guys played. Never.
No,
You're vocal on the court.
very.
In on defense, on offense, it was never put a shot up. That's for talking about my sneakers, like or my brand. It was nothing. There was no anything like that.
No, I mean we never ever had a conversation about it after that. There are some other things that he said to other people and I guess to management or whatever, but snitches get stitches. That's all I'm gonna say.
Sure,
But at the same time, um, I do life for what it is that happened in the hood. If I saw it and I got caught for it, I'm just gonna leave it at that.
sure. You your documentary is now on Netflix. I got a chance to watch it a month ago, and you detailed your time on the Olympic team with Melo, with LeBron, with Larry Brown, and more. First
Mm.
question for you on that is you talked about how you got on the bus half an hour or an hour before Larry Brown got on the bus because you didn't want to deal with him. And then he ended up being your coach the following year. Carmelo
Okay.
Anthony, what you said?
Yeah, I'm listening.
What was it that was going on with you and Larry Brown um, that made you have to get on the bus so early?
Um, during that time, this is how it started. We got on a we first I was in Phoenix and I had to fly to Florida for practice for the Olympics, and I missed my flight to fly to Florida in the morning that USA Basketball had got for me. So I had to spend $22,000 to get a private plane to make sure that I made it there on time because I didn't want to call in and make a bad impression on the USA Basketball because all of the people that represented USA Basketball, I knew them from when I played with the junior Olympic team. So I had so much respect for them that I said, you know what? It's my mistake that I missed my flight. I'm gonna charter a plane to go from Phoenix to I'm from Phoenix, Arizona to Florida to where we were practicing at. And I got on that plane. It was the worst flight ever. It was
Why?
bumpy. It was bumpy the whole time. I didn't sleep. I didn't sleep 1 second on the flight, and it was bumpy the whole time. And I'm flying there. I get there. When I get there, I go. I ask somebody. I check into my room, and then I ask them, "Where's the meeting room at?" I go to the meeting room. I go into the meeting room. I get there about 30 seconds before I was supposed to be inside the room without knowing where to go. So I get in the room, I'm sitting in my seat. LeBron James and Allen Iverson, they come about 30 seconds late. Now, mind you, those two guys, we were playing an exhibition game. Those two guys, Larry Brown, off the jump, he told those guys that they were suspended from playing in the game. So those two guys didn't play in the game that we were playing, and it was on national TV that game. So they missed the game that game. If you go back and you check the tape.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're in the meeting, and everybody's going around the table about what they're gonna do and what they're gonna contribute towards helping us win a gold medal.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody said what they said. It wasn't really much to say, and then it came around to me. And then I said, well, everybody said pretty much all of what it is that we need to do. I said, let's not forget about having fun
Hmm.
when we go out and we play. And then he goes, this guy, this guy's talking about having fun. And I'm looking at him and I'm looking at around and I'm like, well, what's wrong with what I said about us going out and playing and having fun? Like, you got to have fun when you play basketball if you're going to go on the court and you're going to play.
Mm-hmm.
From then, it was on. And when I tell you it was the worst 38 days of my life in playing basketball, I tell you not, that's exactly what it was. And I think, him and I, we did not understand each other at all. It was kind of like listening to Massa. That's what it was kind of like. And I was so far from that. I was the dude that was like Nat Turner. Like, you can whoop my ass, you can kill me, you can do whatever you want to do. It doesn't matter.
Right.
And it kind of bothered him that I was that type of spirit and that type of soul. And when you have this understanding about standing for something and not falling for anything, when you have this understanding, you know when somebody's for you and when they're not for you. And I knew he wasn't for me. So every day I will speak with Isaiah Thomas because Isaiah Thomas and I, we were really close and cool at this time, during this time. And I would tell him like all of what's going on. He was like, yeah, but you playing the most minutes. I was like, I don't care if I don't play a second. This guy is the worst. He does not care about anything other than what it is that he's talking about and what he thinks. And if
Right.
you don't agree and abide by what it is that he's saying and what he thinks, that's it. He tries to make you conform towards this way of his thinking and doing what it is that he want you to do. And I just wasn't that dude. Basketball, I love basketball, but it wasn't that serious to me. Life is way more important than a game. It is. It's just. I mean, I mean, I credit my mom and my dad for me having this understanding and me having this teaching of having a knowing about what's way more important than a basketball game.
Sure. You end up being coached by him in New York with the Knicks, and then you talked about Allen Iverson and Carmelo Anthony and LeBron James being on that team. Allen Iverson and LeBron were late. What was that team like? Was it just you that bumped heads with him the most? What was that process like in the Olympics? Y'all won a bronze. So it's like he was hard on you, but at the same time, you guys won a bronze. Melo wasn't feeling it. Were there other guys that were on that Olympic team that kind of were bumping heads with him too?
That's a documentary. That's the first person that does that documentary. They're going to be the ones who they're going to get it all. Because if you individually, the best time is the best time to get everybody is when they're finished playing basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Because then that's when it's like, you know, some guys. I mean, the guys that's playing, I don't know if they're going to keep it 100, but the guys that's not playing, I think that they will speak a little bit different about what it is that actually happened. When Isaiah told me that he was hiring him as the Knicks coach, I couldn't believe it. It's like literally being in shock. Like when I was on a boat, I never forget it was on a Queen Mary too. I was like on a boat every day. I would speak to him in the same spot. Go outside my little room, which was right off of it's a balcony. You can look out into the sea, and I would put my feet up and I would talk to him. And when he said that he was hiring him, I just was like, wow. I just could not believe it. I was shocked.
Tell me something. Um, I remember my freshman year of college, and one of my favorite rappers you can't stand, Jay-Z. There was a line in the song "La La La" where he said, "Don't confuse me with Marbury up with this bitch. When I'm on the light, you can lose your life." Where were you the first time that you heard that song?
I was in Atlanta. Um, I was in Atlanta inside of a club, and when I heard it, I knew exactly what it was about.
Right.
We was inside of a club, and he was with a chick that I did not know that was cool. After I found out about her, him, Dame Dash, and I got robbed that night too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we was in a club, and she went off and we started dancing, and we started dancing, and it wasn't nothing. It was just dancing. It's New York. I'm from New York. She from New York, and we started dancing. And come to find out after, she was like, "Yo, do you know homeboy was vexed and mad because you and I started dancing?" And I was like, "For what?" And I said, "That's what we do." She was like, "Word, homie got real mad because of that." So I guess he went and did whatever he did and made his little song about what it was. But at the same time, I look at Jay-Z and I say, wow, here you are trying to be something that you're not. You're not an advocate for black people. You sold drugs to black people and you rapped about it and talked about it. How do you do that? Like, I'm trying to figure that part out. Like, you can't make that right. This ain't snitching. This ain't telling on nobody. You told on yourself already. Like, you already told people what it is that you do and how you do it and how you feel about what you're doing. So how you rap about something that you did? I'm confused. I don't know. But people ask me why you always talk about Jay-Z. Why you always say something about LeBron? I'm like, they two are the same. They together. These are they friends. So if I say something about them, I'm saying something about two people that said something about me and talked about me. So if you talk about me and I talk about you, why would you get mad about what I say about you? You shouldn't get mad about me saying something about you. If you said something about me, that's a normal thing. It's not, oh, you shouldn't say anything about any one of them. I'm not doing anything. I'm just talking about what happened.
No,
The
that's real.
truth. That's the truth. I'm not making anything up. I'm not going off on a tangent, and I'm just speaking about what it is. You sold drugs to people where you from, Jay-Z, and Brooklyn, and Marcy. You got them on crack. You got them on whatever it is, cocaine, whatever it is that you were selling to them. Whatever you say you cooking up, whatever you was cooking up, that's what you did. So now you got your people high, you got your people. You sold drugs to people that women that were pregnant. Now you created crack babies. These same babies that are going out killing grandparents. I'm confused. That's what it is. That's what happened. So I mean, I don't know why that is a big thing and speaking and talking about that when that's something that happened.
You had the internet in a stir, and when we talked on my podcast, I wanted to ask, but we didn't have enough time. But I'm gonna ask today. You said that someone told you that if your throat is messed up or your voice or whatever, you swallow Vaseline to clear it up. Everybody brings that up when you look at internet comments. They always say Stephon Marbury is the guy who ate Vaseline. Two-part question: have you ate Vaseline since that video? And how did
Yeah.
you or they get it wrong?
You said, and what?
So have you ate Vaseline since? One. And
Yeah.
two, how did people get it wrong or how did you get it wrong?
Hold on one second.
Oh Lord.
So this is Vaseline.
Uh-huh.
This is Vaseline.
Okay.
So I just
Explain.
ate some Vaseline.
Explain.
100-year-old black woman told me during the time when I was losing my voice and I couldn't speak and I couldn't talk. She said, if you eat some Vaseline, it'll clear your throat and it'll help you.
Mm-hmm.
And during this time when I did it, people made this big drama and big thing about it because they had no idea about the 100-year-old heritage of what people did for home remedies to be able to heal yourself.
Right.
And when I did it, I didn't think nothing of it because I knew it was from somebody that was from an old tree. It was an old branch. It was something that was passed down. It was something that we had no knowledge of or no understanding about, right? And I trusted where the information came from because I knew it was from a bloodline of a person who stemmed from only righteousness, only love, only being considerate towards what it was that I was going through and what I was feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So when I did that, I laughed at the people who I'm still laughing at the people who talk about what it is that I did. A white man created Vaseline, and this white person ate a teaspoon of it for a whole year, a day of his life. So you trying to tell me that because I ate Vaseline, you got a joke? Your mom smoked crack and your pops do dope. And you
Right.
talking about me eating Vaseline? I'm confused. I don't get it. How is that possible? So, I think that when people have these notions about what other people are doing, they really need to think about what it is that they're doing, what it is that has gone on in their lives from their parents, brothers, sisters. Like that's what their focus should be on. It shouldn't be about what it is that I did or what I'm doing internally with my body or externally. There's no reason for you to be talking about what it is that's going on in my life.
Right.
And when I laugh and I talk about that, it's really it's a joke. It doesn't really mean anything because it doesn't. It really doesn't mean anything. It has no relevancy towards what's actually happening in our everyday data life with you or me.
Stephen A. Smith. When I was in college, I remember you did a spoof on him. Stephen A. Stiff here. And then somebody asked you a question. You said, I do what I do when I do what I. You took it from the Mace, that Mace track. Did Stephen A. Smith ever see it? Did he laugh? Did you guys talk about that spoof that you did?
Nah,
Okay.
I didn't. I seen him one time, and um, when I seen him, he looked like he saw a ghost. I think Stephen A. Smith. He does what he's doing for TV.
Hmm.
That's it. That's the best way to paraphrase what is actually happening and what's going on. Stephen A. Smith, he's never played any professional sport, and I think when you have these guys like him and Shannon Sharp, when you have a football player talking about basketball, I think you're doing it. It's injustice towards people's ears and understanding about what's actually happening on the court. When you listen to guys like Chris Webber and Kenny Smith, even Charles Barkley, when you listen to these guys when they're talking about basketball, I think, you know, it's okay for you to have an observation about what it is that you see. But when you're looking for information for you to have this understanding about, the game being played,
Sure.
I think when you hear these guys, you can take heed to what it is that they're saying because you know that they're representing the game from a perspective of them being on the court and them understanding what's actually happening in real time when the game is going on. But when you got guys like Stephen A. Smith and um, Shannon Sharp talking about the game, for me, I think it's a disservice to the network, to the people who are listening. I think it's harsh because people who don't have an understanding about basketball, they actually listen to these guys,
His
and
let
they,
me let me ask
you
you a
know,
question because you talked about Shannon Sharp, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm curious because you play. I did, me personally, I'm on the rise. I didn't play. Just like Stephen A. Smith, he played in college. Shannon Sharp and Stephen A. Smith are put in the same box because they're the strong opinionists on a show. Here's my question. Chris Webber, I'm not sure, but I don't think he went to journalism school. Kenny Smith didn't go to journalism school, but they're analysts and they played the game. For someone who's a journalist, where do you, as a player or a former player or a retired player or a coach, draw the line for journalists who are writing about the game, who are covering the game? Because Stephen A. Smith would fit in that box.
your opinion is your opinion. What
Mhm.
goes on the court is what goes on the court.
Sure.
That's it. You can have your opinion and state how you feel, but when you start detouring people towards what it is that you think is supposed to happen on a court and what someone is supposed to do or what they didn't do, I got a problem with that. I got
Right.
a real issue with that when you never played before.
Mhm.
Like, and that's getting caught up in the moment. And getting caught up in the moment, that draws and it becomes an allure towards others to start thinking that you know what it is that you're talking about when you're speaking about sports. You don't got to show me that you played college basketball. I don't want to know about what you did as far as playing basketball.
Sure.
Actually, to be honest, I don't need to know about that because when you start doing that, you start confusing my brain. You start making me think that you've done something at a level and now you didn't reach that level and then now you're speaking about another level. Back when you play in the NBA, that's a different space, right? After 10, it goes to another, it's 11. And that's it.
Mhm.
It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then after that you go into 11, right? Once you start going into different spaces, you can talk about what it is that you feel and what you think, but when you start talking about the game where now you're trying to break it down for people to have an understanding, I got a problem with that because you can't break the game down to me if you've never played at this level before. You can speak and you can talk about it and you can have your views of what you think. But when you start talking about it as if you were a player and you've never played, you're never going to understand this. If you've never had sex before and you're a virgin, you can't tell me how it is to bust a nut.
You
I'm
right.
just keeping I'm just
You
keeping it
right.
100. And I think this way right here, it makes it plain and it's simple. If
Right.
you never busted a nut before, you can't tell somebody how I feel.
This is true.
Period.
Explanation point. Period. You to me, your documentary vindicates yourself a lot in the sense of being a free thinker. We talked about Kyrie Irving and the fact that he's a free thinker, and you see what he did, with the 1.5 million that he donated to the WNBA, the stuff that he did with donating Beyond Meat burgers and more. You think the world of Damian Lillard of the Portland Trailblazers, a guy who was playing good basketball in the bubble, and you said that he was the best basketball player. I want to go back to that. Number one, when you look at guys like Damian Lillard, when you look at guys like Derrick Rose, when you look at guys like Ja Morant, do those kind of scoring point guards make you feel like you are ahead of your time, and do they remind you of yourself?
I said what I said about Damian Lillard because at the time, that's what he was doing. He was looking and playing like the best basketball player in the NBA. And the way how he was not only individually playing, but how he was carrying a team that was in eighth place into a space where they were able to compete against a top team. I think Damian Lillard is not only what LeBron said, underappreciated, underrated. Not only is that, he's all of what we know what the best point guards look like when they're on the court. I think Damian Lillard, because his knowledge and his understanding about how he speaks and how he communicates to the people on earth and what he's syndicating and the message that he's trying to get people to receive when he's saying what he's saying, I think that becomes a little diluted because it's real. It's something that is actually um, something that people can gravitate towards. And I think, when you put basketball in the realms of what it is that he's saying, it actually is together. For his game and what he's saying, it has the same frequency, it's the same channel. And I think it's a little far fetched for a lot of people to gravitate towards, which it's understandable. It's cool. It's understand. It's not a big deal. But when I say what it is that I'm saying. When you see a 6'2", 6'3" guard playing the way how he's playing, you gotta say, wow, this guy is really playing at a different level. If he
Mm-hmm.
had if he had the different components on his team that will allow him to play at a high level as Isaiah Thomas when he was playing, when he was winning championships, it would show him in a completely different light.
Sure.
Because in the NBA in America, you only recognize by winning championships.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you don't win championships, you're not regarded as whatever. But LeBron is 3-8. Oh, that's what he's 3 and something. How do you compare 3 with 6-0 with Michael Jordan? Where does that even make sense at?
I think Michael has been considered the gold standard because he went undefeated, and I
I
think
mean,
that
but to be honest though, but where is there an argument at? If we can't talk about the game,
you
so if
can't.
you can't talk about the game, if you can't talk about the game, you can't talk about how many L's you got in the finals and
Right.
the numbers. The you can't. It's nowhere on this earth you can compare 603 something.
Right.
It's no way. It's no way in this world you can do it.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to see Mark Jackson coach the Chicago Bulls?
I want to see Mark Jackson coach. Period.
Do you think he'll get that opportunity?
He should get that opportunity.
Do you think he is one of those woke people that people can't place, and that's why he's not coaching?
How are you gonna have all of these black players who have played the game of basketball not coaching basketball? How is the majority white coaches coaching the NBA?
You're right.
I mean, why? It, I mean, it should be 60. It should be 60-40 from my vision and how I think. It's not even 50-50.
Mm-mm.
And this has nothing to do with white or black. I'm just talking about the game
Right.
and who dominated the game.
Couple more questions. Do you like Tom Thibodeau as head coach of the Knicks?
Love it.
Tell me more.
Defense. He works. He's a workhorse. Period. Like, he just if you don't defense, if you don't have that mind frame and you don't have this thinking, you can't win consistently. And that's what he has in mind when you step on the basketball court.
Devin Booker put on a show in the bubble. Did you get a chance to watch him in Phoenix? What do you think?
Monster. Monster. Period.
The Minnesota Timberwolves have the first pick. If you're Minnesota, do you keep the pick or do you trade it?
I mean, you don't know who's who. You don't know what players are going to pan out to be what it is that you would like for them to pan out to be. But at the same time, you know, you got to evaluate. You got to have really good basketball people that understand the game and understand, what's needed for their team in order for them to be able to play the way how they're capable of playing with the insertion of that player.
I asked you about Mark Jackson and the Chicago Bulls. Follow up to that is Zach LaVine. Um, did you get a chance to watch him? What do you think about his upside in Chicago?
I think he's a player that can evolve. I think he needs to be in a position where he has the right infrastructure from the organization and coaching staff to allow him to be able to flourish. That's
Mhm.
really important. It's vital. if you don't have the support of the organization and the coach, I mean, you very much so become trade bait,
Hmm.
in this business. But if you have that support system, which there's only two or three guys on the team that really have that, which are the cornerstones and the pillars of the uh, the team's planks and holding the team together. If he can become that, I think he can flourish. I think he can.
You
He
were
has the
traded.
ability.
You were traded for Jason Kidd, and you played against Greg Popovich's Spurs team. Jason Kidd is now an assistant with the Lakers. Greg Popovich currently is still the head coach of the San Antonio Spurs. If you were the GM for the Nets for the day, and you had the opportunity to pick either or as the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets, do you pick Jason Kidd or do you pick Greg Popovich
You mean as a player and as a coach?
as a coach?
Um, I think I would probably go with experience and championships
Hmm.
with Popovich.
Hmm.
I think Popovich, he has a great rapport with the players. Jason Kidd, I think he will continue to flourish as a coach, but I will go with experience over a coach that has coached for X amount of years. I'm a coach right now, and I think people will probably pass on me because there are still things that I am learning as a coach, and things that you have to learn. And I think with Popovich being in a position where he's won multiple championships and he's built a dynasty organization in the NBA, I will probably say that.
You talked about coaching, and I think it's interesting. You see a lot of these either like you see Ty Lue, who came into a position in Cleveland after David Blatt was let go, and then now he's an assistant under Doc Rivers with the Clippers. I would imagine that being a point guard, the transition to being a coach is a little bit easier, but it still takes work. You being a star player, I would imagine respectfully, you set aside your ego when you're teaching. You're not the face, even though you're the face because you're the coach. For you coaching, what was the biggest transition?
The biggest transition for me was learning that what Phil Jackson said. You have to put everyone's ego into a bag, and you have to deal with it individually. You can't coach everyone the same, and recognizing and understand that you have a variety of different egos, but you also have to do a job. And I think for me, my biggest thing is teaching consistency and getting them to understand that there's only one thing that we're trying to do, and that's win. And if everyone is on that same page and everyone is doing what they're supposed to do because you get paid to do what it is that you're doing, we can create really good results.
Last question. You talked about you're judged in the NBA by championships. You had a successful career, All-Star appearance. You put on a show of a lifetime in the All-Star game years ago. But there's always this criticism. There's always this thing with you and Mike D'Antoni years ago when he coached the Knicks. There was this people talk about the Vaseline. People talk about just a lot of different things. And when you talk about LeBron James, people in the comments will say, "Well, LeBron won multiple championships." They say, you did this, you did that." Fair question. Your NBA career versus your China career. How do you want to be judged by both?
I mean, it ain't too many black people on this earth with monuments, statues, and museums on foreign land. What's been done has been done in basketball. It's basketball. It's not just the NBA because there are other platforms. I think I could be like Championship Chuck, Charles Barkley. That was funny. You go playoff P and Championship Chuck. They don't call me that. Patrick Ewing, John Stockton, Karl Malone. There are a multitude of different dudes who have not won championships in the NBA, but are considered top 50 players. Um, if you never won a championship, you're just like me, and I'm just like them. But I went someplace else and did something else. I did something different someplace else, and gave myself an opportunity to be able to um, play the game and do what it is that I love to do someplace else and accomplish things that a lot of human beings have not been able to accomplish. So I think in the game of basketball, um, it's about what you do on this earth in playing basketball. And I think what I've done will be talked about forever,
Forever, ever.
ever.
Brother, I kept you up late. You in China. I appreciate your time, man. I know you are busy, busy, busy.
It's all love.
My man, I'll talk to you soon.
Peace.
Later.
All right.